Well, for their thoughts on this journey, we spoke to Nobody and William Blake, aka Gary Farmer and Johnny Depp.
Excuse me. How do you do, sir? I'm Bill Blake, your new accountant from Cleveland.
What the heck are you doing here?
Jim and I had met about 4 or 5 years ago, and we got real close then. We ended up becoming good pals, and he's been one of my best friends ever since. So the idea of going to work with him was really, the first 2 or 3 weeks was real strange, because it's like, it's your friend, like, suddenly saying action, and saying, all right, and he calls me Pancho, that's what my nickname is, and he's like, all right, Pancho, you go over here, and then you do that, and you do this, and like that, and you're like, okay. What are you talking about,
This letter is postmarked 2 months ago. Makes you about a month late. This here is Mr. Olafson. He's our new accountant.
Jim came to my home. I live in the bush, actually, much like Nobody, between Montreal and Toronto. He sat down and came to my house and told me the story orally over 2 days. But then as he was leaving, he presented me with a script and said, if you'd like the part, it's yours, I mean, it could have been the rottenest script in the world. I probably would have said yes to Jim at that level, then. So it was lovely. As an actor, it's a lovely way to be. It's a lovely way to get a gig.
My name is Nobody.
Excuse me?
it wasn't that tough a shoot. It was kind of an emotional shoot, between Gary and Jim and myself, and Christ, we were bonding with the horses, you know what I mean? It was like, today I have to say goodbye to my horse now, who else do I have to say goodbye to, We were all over the place. We shot in Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, California. We were all over the place.
Well, that doesn't explain why you've come all the way out here. All the way out here to hell.
Tell me about the relationship with Nobody and Gary Farmer.
Gary Farmer, that was a really amazing learning experience for me. Watching Gary work and his passion for the reality and to keep all the ceremonial things accurate. He represented a large group of people.
If I was like a robber in a movie, with Robert De Niro, then, that I'm just a robber in a movie. It's not a big deal, I can do that, I can conform myself to whatever that, but to do something with this, especially with the people, indigenous people being so misrepresentative in cinema for so long, the stakes are really high.
That weapon will replace your tongue. You will learn to speak through it. And your poetry will now be written with blood.
I thought the whole idea was beautiful. I mean, when I read the screenplay, the whole metaphor behind the idea of a bullet resting, just that far from the human heart, and being on the verge of death at all times. I thought there was something very beautiful about that.
You were a poet and a painter. And now you are a killer of white men.
I think Jim is a master of stealing moments, the absurd moments in people's lives that we just sort of accept. They happen all the time. We just sort of accept them and kind of, throw them by the wayside. And Jim is a master of capturing that moment.